Okay, so um, this session is called Pushing the Envelope, and you're madly efficient with Unanet because it permeates your business processes. But you need to understand, there may be some other things that you can do that may be of interest. And so today we have a couple of speakers here from Brandon Perdue from VAST. He's going to talk about individual benefits account. It's a new way to look at total compensation. And then Matthew Chadwick from G2 Ops is going to talk about the integrated management utility and refreshable web query tools that show us how to make your Unanet data really perform. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon so we can learn about IBA.
So as Ken had kind of already mentioned and everything, I'm going to talk about what's called an IBA, which is an individual-based account. The topic of my short session here is going to be expanding your footprint through innovative tricks. And this is just the way VAST has uniquely positioned ourselves in the marketplace and all. VAST has, just to give you a little bit of a background and everything as to where VAST came from and our experience with Unanet and why we're able to do stuff with the power of the back end of Unanet now, is this kind of legacy of where we kind of came from. We started off with time and expense reporting on Excel, and phase one of our implementation was to get onto T&E. Second to that was invoicing, project planning, and financial reporting, and that's what constituted phase two. Phase three was when we transitioned over from bookkeeping, accounting measures to financials as part of phase three, and then finally, hopefully soon, with phase four coming, single integrated solution of purchasing. So this has been our path forward as an integrated method as to getting us onto a Unanet model and everything. So just to start us off, just kind of give us an explanation as to what we're talking about and how it's different. So the typical benefits and everything else, as you see, is kind of a coin stack, siloed mentality, where money goes in and what comes out for the employees is either medical, paid time off, business-related expenses, or retirement, and it only can be used for those categories in those silos and everything, and they can't kind of be commingled. VAST is a little bit different, and we do it as a funnel-type mentality, where money goes into the funnel, but the employee then gets to choose what's the most important thing to them. Is it paid time off? Is it retirement? Is it business-related expenses through taxable withdrawals? It's those type things that start the conversation differently and kind of gives the employee the more of the choices as to where things are going with their money. Some of, again, just as a recap as to what a true IBA stands for, is an individual benefits account. The purpose of this is to mainly fund the PTO, but provide the employees flexibility to acquire specific benefits such as medical, dental, and disability insurance. All of these benefits come out of the IBA as a tax-free deduction. 30% of the salary is what is deposited into the IBA account each month based on the employee's salary. And all this is governed by the IRS guidelines that kind of maintains what is the allowable amounts and how can we treat these different dollars as tax-free and all that. So then, like I said, the big thing is that we have set up this IBA account, and the way in which Unanet has provided us assistance and all is that it allows us to actually work with the employees and giving them real-time reporting when it comes to all these different flavors of benefits that they really get. So we make it on the 10th of every month, we make a contribution into their account. Adjustments are made if PTO is taken over the month, or if LWOP, weather closure, and other administrative times were reported that don't really earn benefits, because we don't pay benefits on all those things, and so we deduct those away. The IMU is what actually assists us in being able to do that, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. We also automatically calculate on the timesheets their PTO hours, the LWOP hours, and their flex hours. So that way it's automatically put onto their timesheet. All the employee has to do is mark the hours worked, and that's it. At the end of the month, once it's submitted and approved, the rest of it flows out. Reimbursements requests for allowed medical claims and other expenses are deducted from your IBA. They go through a HR approval chain process, and they'll come out on your payroll on your next pay statement. If your IABA balance supports it. You can even request taxable withdrawals at any time against your IBA. You can actually treat it as a little bonus pool for you so that you can get extra money out when needed in time crunch situations for your family. The way in which the kind of data flows to the end user is a multifaceted approach. The big thing is, and the reason we've been so successful with this model and being able to get this established is really based on the fact that we self-host Unanet. We're not on a cloud-based solution. We have all the data that's stored on-house and all. That's not to say that Kent and these guys can't really work it on a cloud-based solution. That's just why we've been successful, is because we have back-end data access to all the information, so we can kind of work with it and play with it a little bit easier. So, like I said before, employees put time in on the front side. That's where we start. Once time goes in, that goes into the Unanet database. Once in the database, hours go and get computed in the IMU, and there is where we start matching up against the hourly rates and all the different percentages that we talked about with the IBA, with the 30% and all that. We also take their hourly rate and we times that to get how much is a taxable withdrawal for PTO. So hours flow in to the IMU and dollars flow out back into the Unanet front end, which then produces end user reporting. Such reporting, this is the end user reporting that I was talking about. This is where we start off with the contributions at the beginning, and then flowed out of that is the taxable claims for PTO, tax-free claims for medical things, and also your premiums also get kind of rolled out of this. As you can kind of indicate from this screenshot and everything, we treat an expense reporting system as a bank account. So each employee then, in essence, has their own bank account within the company that they can draw against. So while we use this as a larger scale for IBA, we have been successful in helping other small businesses set up a very similar approach for education, for example, and people wanted to have an education reporting requirement where they said all the employees get $2,500. We then also do the exact same thing of where we draw hours against time slot, and also they're able to submit expense report claims on it. And so then the employee then gets real-time bank account reporting against the amount of a fringe benefit that is provided by the company. We also, on the timesheet, use what's called a VSP. The VSP is actually what outlines the standard hours for the month, how much the employee has in available flex, PTO, what they need to put on their timesheet to complete it and have it successfully submitted. And then followed up to that is also the current IBA balance. It's a very similar message that appears here, as well as on the expense report side as well. The idea behind it is to give the employee as much information to better forecast their hours as far as leave goes, or and also forecast the expenses that are going to be residing each month. Because at the end of the day, if they're negative at the end of the year, which means that they owe the company money, they have to pay that money back somehow. And that's either usually in the form of stipend checks or something like that. So we try to give them as much information upfront as possible to avoid that. And we have been very successful with 170 employees avoiding situations like that. So what? So why is this a big deal? This is a big deal because, one, it lowers salaries. And the reason it lowers salaries is because we actually go to a conversation of what's called total compensation. So far, most companies will usually talk about what a salary looks like and what all the different benefits are, but the employee only knows that they get all these benefits, but they may pick and choose only a couple of them that they need. Whereas now, we don't mind that you only pick and choose. It's no reduction in cost to us, so we actually get to show the employee what the full gamut looks like and let them choose. So it goes to a conversation of total compensation, which, as we know, in the LPTA world nowadays, it's a huge thing to have the lower salaries. We also have a fixed fringe rate because, again, while there are benefits to doing a silo effect and where you may see a benefit of varying fringe rate going up or down based on the number of employees, we have it fixed so that it doesn't matter, ours doesn't change at all. And so it provides consistency and to our DCA auditors as we go through auditing processes. The second thing is, or third rather, is that it increases retention due to flexibility. That's only and has only lost people to the government currently. We have not lost anybody else to other contractors because of this total compensation IBA package that we offer is the most lucrative and most employee friendly that you can go. We also give the employees the most flexibility. Again, we'll get back to that flexibility. We assist employees in better planning their leave and banking hours, and we reduce administrative time for processing benefits. One thing I didn't mention that I should have is that when we were on QuickBooks, what we used to do was take screenshots of employees' registers and upload those as not real-time reporting, but stagnant reporting that was either delayed by a couple of months. And so employees never had a real idea as to how their IBA was or worked. Now, with Unanet and us treating it as a bank account, employees are able to see instantly, as soon as they submit an expense report, how their IBA is looking, how they're shaping up, what are they going to have by the end of the year and all. So it has been a tremendous improvement over the administrative time processing this unique benefit structure. That's all I have. Appreciate the time. I'm going to turn it back over to Kent now to introduce our next speaker.